Jeez, what? Does this lens make my nose look big? Hey, how's it going? Thanks for stopping by. I'm Dave, and if you're new here, welcome. And if you're a returning guest, welcome back. If you have been here before, we clearly have a connection. So why don't you hit that subscribe button below? You know you want to. And if you hit that bell icon below, you'll be notified as soon as I upload a new video. Regardless of how you got here or why you got here, welcome anyway. And thanks for stopping by and checking it out. In this video, I'm going to give you my take on the differences between low carb and keto diets and give you some of what I consider to be the best benefits of both. And stick around till the end of the video where I tell you how you'll know if a low carb or a keto diet is right for you. Now, I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist, and I'm not giving you medical or nutritional advice. The thoughts and perspectives presented here are strictly based on my own personal opinions and my desire to share my findings. I'm just a lucky guy that's had some success in a nutritional strategy that has worked for him, and I'm excited to bring it to you. Now, my lawyers have told me that this disclaimer is necessary should one of you all decide to start eating poison dart frogs or some other stupid thing that isn't good for you, or you go against your doctor's advice and blame me for growing a new head. Always ask and follow the advice of your primary health care practitioner before you start something new like a diet or eating poisonous frogs or whatever. Okay, let's get to it. There are a variety of differences between keto and low carb, but before we get into those, it's probably worthwhile to describe why, in general, keto and low carb are beneficial. Reducing the amounts of carbs that you consume is a very well-researched method for achieving a variety of health benefits, including weight loss, insulin and blood sugar control, stabilizing type 2 diabetes, controlling inflammation, and a whole host of other metabolic and systemic advantages. High-carb foods that are saturated in sugars and refined starches are usually very calorically dense. That means you don't need to eat a lot before you've consumed more calories than your body can actually use for energy. Those extra calories that you consume have to go somewhere, and typically they move off to storage as fat. Also, having all that extra glucose floating around in your bloodstream puts a strain on your organs and your tissues, creating inflammation and potential damage to your physical and metabolic health. By reducing the number of carbs you eat, your body has a better chance to use up what energy is available in your bloodstream and liver, stored as glycogen, and to start to burn fat instead. Both low carb and keto diets accomplish these things, but at different rates, depending on how much you restrict your carb intake. Keto is more restrictive than low carb in terms of daily amounts of carbs you can eat, but the health benefits from following a ketogenic diet are generally seen more quickly than when you use low carb. And don't be fooled, keto and low carb isn't just about eating steaks cooked in butter with a side of bacon. Protein is only consumed moderately in both diets, and carbs are in the form of fresh, nutrient-dense leafy greens or high-fiber veggies like broccoli, cabbage, and cauliflower. Healthy fats like coconut, avocado, and olive oil, grass-fed dairy and beef, fatty fish, and fats from seeds and nuts provide the majority of energy your body will require. Either way, a low-carb diet, be it keto or just cutting out refined starches and sugars, will definitely make a difference in your overall health. Okay, so now let's get into the major differences. How many carbs can you consume in either a ketogenic or a low-carb diet? Keto is pretty well defined in terms of how many carbs you can consume per day. Depending on your metabolism, 20 to 50 grams of net carbs is recommended. To calculate your net carbs, you subtract the fiber and other indigestible carbs like sugar alcohols from the total number of carbs, giving you your net carb value. Now, I use a net carb calculation and stay at the lower end of the range, but others are even more strict by just counting total carbs. Low carb isn't as well defined. Depending on where you get your information, low carb can be anywhere between 10 and 30% of your daily calories. That works out to about 50 to 100 grams of carbs based on a 2,000 calorie per day total. Now, that doesn't mean you can get all of your daily carbs by restricting your intake to one maple glazed donut. No, that's not how it works. It means you eliminate foods that are high in refined sugars and minimize high-starch foods like bread and pasta, grains, and other high-carb foods that are easily broken down to elevate your blood sugar. Foods that are generally high on the glycemic index, that's foods that digest quickly to give you that sugar rush, are what to avoid. The other major difference between keto and low carb is the metabolic state of nutritional ketosis. Now, nutritional ketosis is when your body has burned up all of the stored glycogen used to make glucose and is now burning fats and using ketones as its primary source of energy. And don't confuse this self-induced condition with diabetic ketoacidosis, which is a life-threatening condition that diabetics may find themselves in when there isn't enough insulin in their blood to deal with the sugar that's in their system. Nutritional ketosis is a desirable state to be in. For weight loss, this is a huge advantage, and with the ketogenic diet, it's really what the goal is. A low-carb diet won't get you into a state of nutritional ketosis, unless perhaps if you use intermittent fasting. And I'm planning a future video on that topic, so stay tuned. Along with nutritional ketosis comes a whole bunch of health benefits, and I've talked about that in a previous video. You should check that out up there in the corner, and I'll also put a link in the notes below so that you can click on that and check it out. I think you'll get some value out of that. But by just reducing the number of bad carbs and replacing them with healthy, nutrient-rich, high-fiber foods and vegetables, you're almost certain to lose weight on a low-carb diet. If you're learning anything new, or as they say in YouTube land, getting any value out of the content, hit that like button. That tells YouTube that what you find in this video is valuable, and they'll share it with other people who may benefit from the content as well. And remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you'll be notified the very next time that I make a new video. Okay, pitter patter, let's get back at her. So, which diet is the right one for you? Well, it depends on what's important to you. The main difference between the two diets is the amount of carbs you take in. If you simply don't want to restrict your intake as low as keto requires, then low carb is your way to go. Low carb is definitely a more sustainable diet for the average person. But once you get the hang of low carb, it isn't so far a reach to stick your toe into the keto waters, so to speak, and see if it's right for you. If nutritional ketosis and all the benefits that spring from going keto are important to you, then clearly keto is the way you want to go. If you're an elite athlete, keto presents some challenges in terms of performance, so a low-carb diet is probably more appropriate. But I don't suspect there's a lot of elite athletes in my audience anyway. But if there are, and you're watching, there are strategies for you to take advantage of the ketogenic lifestyle, and there are some actual real benefits in terms of endurance. So let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to touch on high-performance keto. You will likely lose weight if you go keto or low carb, so if weight loss is your plan, either one will work just fine. Science shows that after about a year, weight loss plateaus on a low-carb diet unless you supplement it with intermittent fasting or transition to a ketogenic diet. And of course, keto is a far more effective way to lose weight, and weight comes off much more quickly. But you may not even need to go on a ketogenic or a low-carb diet in the first place. There's no point in jumping on a bandwagon if it isn't going in the direction you want it to go. And if it's not necessary, why put yourself through the stress? So, if you have no metabolic issues, you're at a weight that you're comfortable with, and carbs don't cause you any discomfort in the form of allergic irritation or inflammation, if you don't have a genetic link to metabolic issues or disorders in your family, and if you don't like the kind of foods that low carb or keto requires you to eat, then you just carry on carrying on. There's no harm, no foul. So what's the bottom line? It's pretty clear I have a positive bias towards a reduced carb diet, and I'm not denying it. But it's also pretty clear to me that by moving away from the standard American diet or SAD diet and adopting a healthier way of eating, by reducing your carbs, you will greatly improve your overall health. By eliminating or reducing sugars and refined carbs, and by replacing them with healthy, nutrient-rich organic foods, there is only a benefit to be realized. So, low carb or keto, or even just a thoughtful reflection on what you're putting in your body, at the end of the day, so long as you're improving your nutrition, you're moving in a positive direction. And really, that's all that matters. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.